John B. Watson was born January 9, 1878 in South Carolina. He has since passed away September 25, 1958.
Educational background. He attended Furman University at age 16 and graduated 5 years later with a master's degree. He also attended the University of Chicago and received his PhD in psychology in 1903. He then went on to teach at Johns Hopkins University in 1908 and did that until 1920. He also gave a lecture at Columbia University titled Psychology as the Behaviorists View It. This lecture led to the formation of the Behaviorist School of Thought.
Watson belonged to the Behaviorist School of Thought, meaning that he believed that psychology should be based on observable behavior. One of his most well-known experiments was that of little Albert, an orphaned infant. Being influenced by Pavlov's experiments, especially that of Pavlov's dogs, he conducted a series of actions that conditioned the infant to be afraid of a white rat by associating it with a loud noise. Here's a clip of little Albert.
Noises or not. In this next film sequence, we see Albert interacting with a white rat after the conditioning process. The investigators believed that the child's reaction during this trial demonstrated his newly acquired fear of white rats. Finally, the investigators expected that little Albert's conditioned fear of white rats would generalize to stimuli that were similar in key ways to a white rat.
Give me a dozen healthy infants, well-formed, in my own specified world to bring them up in, and I'll guarantee any one at random and train it to become any type of specialist I might select. Doctor, lawyer, artist, merchant, chief, and yes, even beggar man and thief, regardless of his talents, penchants, tendencies, abilities, vocations, and race of his ancestors.
This led to the idea of conditioning a child to achieve behavior modifications. Children form habits after being introduced to stimuli repeatedly. If a student makes an error, it is considered non-learning and needs to be corrected. The typical approach is to drill until corrected.
For example, at the start of the school year, a teacher may set up a start of class routine. Turn in your assignment, check graded work, sit at your desk, and work on your bell work. If a student does not follow the routine, the teacher will remind them what they are supposed to do until the student follows this routine every day without being prompted. This is an example of a student being conditioned to modify their behavior and to form habits.
Limitations of Watson's theories include the fact that the experiment with little Albert is considered very unethical, that his theory only takes into account observable behavior and disregards all emotions, thinking, expectations, and motivations of the child is also a limitation. His theory also generalizes all children and doesn't consider individual preferences. Fun fact, behaviorism also went out of style during the 1950s.
Some applications of behaviorism in the classroom include simply observing the students. See how they are in class, then find ways to correct or promote certain behaviors. Setting routines as a form of classroom management encourages a student to be consistent in their behavior and in their schoolwork.